All right, y'all. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J is live. We in the building and we about to get it in. We got a live show, a hot show, a lot to get into tonight. I like to tease a little bit here. We're going to talk about what Dolce and Gabbana said. They got Elton John all riled up. We got a police shooting in Ferguson, but the shooter might surprise you. Fox News said something stupid, and a teacher resigned because the parents didn't like her. We got a lot to get into, and we're going to do it for you right here tonight, live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. And you know how Steppin with Marcus J is right now.
Yeah. It's about that time. It's about that time to get. Yeah.
Button your lip, open your ears, strap on your thinking cap. Socially conscious talk that's entertaining with a dash of humor and the top sports stories of the week. It's time for Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J.
Sellers has Jordan. Jordan with 2 seconds to go. Puts it up and scores at the buzzer. Michael Jordan has won it for Chicago. Manning lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. Down goes Frazier. He hits one deep to right center. That ball is out of here. The Yankees win the pennant.
If they lying, then they must be half stepping. And you know, half stepping with Marcus J is live. We are in the building, and so are you. Be down with us at 804-402-2893 to be part of the flagship show of Legacy Internet Radio. Right here live from the Den. You're listening to Ain't No Half Stepping with Marcus J. We appreciate everybody who is checking in with us. We appreciate those folks that are listening to us coast to coast and around the world wide web. Thank you to those folks listening to us on your smartphone, your tablet, or your computer on TuneIn. We appreciate you. We appreciate everybody who has checked into our website at www.legacyinternetradio.com. You've checked in to our fan pages as well as the Legacy Internet Radio page on Facebook and IG. Thank you so much. And of course, finally, a special thank you to those folks that are listening to this on a replay on YouTube. It's because of you guys continuing to check in with us week after week after week right here on Legacy Internet Radio that we continue to do this. So if y'all weren't here listening, we wouldn't be here talking. So we appreciate it. Thank you so much. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be a part of the discussion. I teased a little bit earlier on at the top some of the things that we're going to talk about. Dolce and Gabbana, teacher quits her job, and you're going to bug out as to why. We got a lot to go on. Oh, we're going to definitely talk about Creflo Dollar and his request of his congregation, and we will contrast Creflo Dollar's request of his congregation with that of Dr. Umar Johnson and his request of the community. You'll be interested in hearing the differences between those requests and the different types of reactions from the public from those two. Fox News said something stupid. No shock there. And we got a hip-hop legend who had a interview on one of the major networks. We'll play a clip of that later on that will jump off one of our discussions. Oh, and Marvin Gaye and Robin Thicke. We're talking about that as well. So we got a lot to get into. We're glad you're here. 804-402-2893 is the number to dial to be a part of the discussion. As I do every single week, I set it up with the crew and who I've got with me tonight. And of course, it's a two-man show tonight unless someone calls in and joins us, which is fine because I've known this brother for half my life. He's my big brother, and I'm glad to see him. I'm glad he's back in town so I could pick on him to be here in the studio with me. You hear him every third Monday, and whenever the hell he feel like coming. I got my big brother, Big Bro Joe, is up in this building tonight. What's up, man?
Hey, what's good, Marcus J? How you living, son?
Hey, man, I'm good. good, man. I'm good. It's good to see you over there.
Yeah, you know.
And whatnot. I'm glad to have you here. I'm sure that there'll be something said that's pretty damn stupid that's going to get you riled up because, I mean, doesn't mean that one of us got to say something stupid. We're going to be talking about some of these stories here, and somebody's going to say something stupid.
Yeah.
And we're going to wild out.
Let's get it.
Yeah, I mean, this first thing that we're going to wild out on, we're going to get into was somebody said something stupid. You know, we always call the segment that we're doing what the hell. And what the hell is when someone says or does something stupid. And, of course, we are the sole arbiters of what stupid is. Does that mean that it is stupid? Not necessarily. But if we think it's stupid and we are hosting the show, we get to say it's stupid. Yeah. All right, cool. Well, what I want to get in first is women and sports. Women in sports.
Okay.
And I found myself in a discussion over the weekend in social media, and I do not think the person who said it is stupid, but I think something that the person said was stupid. Basically, what the person alludes to is the fact that women in sports are not supported. That's a problem. It's not supported on par with men in sports. That's a problem. And the fact that we don't support women's sports in the numbers that we support men's sports is a problem, because leading our young people, in particular our young men, towards supporting women's sports will help them to respect women more and keep them from potentially becoming abusers. Now, I cleaned it up in my introduction, and I hope the author is listening, because if he is, I certainly invite him to join the discussion. Yes, I said what you said was stupid. I mean, I kind of said it in social media, so I'm certainly going to say it on the air. But what I want to do, Joe, is I want to talk about women in sports, whether we deviate from what the author of that post said or not. That's fine. I want to have the discussion with you and start with a simple question. Do you like women's sports?
I like women's sports.
Okay. Do you support women's sports?
Well, as having two daughters who grew up doing sports, my oldest was a cheerleader, and I would, regardless of what people might think, that's a sport. Trust me, when you have to pay for them to go to gym classes and do tumbling, and then they're in this competition type setting, it's a sport. And then I have my youngest daughter who was a softball player. She did track and everything like that. So, yeah, I'm a firm believer. Dad was out all the time and leading them on, yelling just as loud as I would if I had a son who was out there playing on the field. You know, coaching them, being out there with them. Didn't do as much for the cheerleading, for the gymnastics cheerleading portion, but I was out there. But, you know what I'm saying. But, yeah, definitely, you got to support.
Do you think that the masses, and when I say the masses, I don't mean Joe and Marcus J, because I like sports. Generally, I don't care who's playing them. I like sports. Do you think that the masses support women's sports in the numbers? And this is just your opinion.
Right.
Do you think that the masses support women's sports the way that they should?
No, I definitely don't believe that we support women's sports the way that we should, because normally either man or woman want to see highlight reels. They want to, okay, let me just go down some of the different sports. You don't see a lot of women, you don't see any women, professional women football players. Now, as a former football player in high school, college, I think that football, it's some women I know out there who could probably give a whole lot of cats a run for their money. But, the whole thing is, do we protect our women? Or we want to make sure that our women are okay? I think that if a woman wants to get out there and play football, and she puts on a uniform and she understands everything that could happen, let her crack some heads or get her head cracked just like everybody else. We look at basketball, the WNBA, for example. It's a lot of women out there who will cross you up, will shoot your lights out on you, and can even dunk on you, but you just don't see that as often. You don't get the LeBron James highlight reels that you would get, in the men's sport. So, yeah, definitely people don't see those highlight things, or we don't go to look for those highlight things, so we don't support it as much.
Is it really about the highlight reels, or is it about the skill level, or is it that men typically have a blind spot when it comes to watching women compete physically?
Well, I think it's a.
Is it really about the highlight reel?
I think it's about the highlight. Well, let's put it like this. I think it's about the money.
Okay.
And when I say highlight reel, I mean I incorporate the highlight reel with the money. I mean, there are a lot of lady athletes who got out here and did their thing. Jackie Joyner Kersey. I look at Wilma Rudolph back in the day, who was putting it out there for who I could not run her.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know many people who could.
The tennis woman that preceded the Williams sisters, Thea Gibson.
Althea Gibson, yes.
Yeah.
You know, and then it's funny for me, but even the women have scandals. Look at Marion
Anderson.
Anderson.
Not Anderson.
No.
That's the singer.
Yeah, that's the singer.
I know Marion. The track star, Marion. Yeah.
I
Her name will
remember.
come to me in a minute.
So, you know, I think that women's sports has everything that men's sports has. We just don't put ourselves around it as much, like I said, because of the highlight reels. It's the money. It's the build up. I think if this was a more woman-driven society, then it would be.
I agree. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Marion Jones is her name that we were
that's her.
losing. I think a large part of it has to do with everything that you say, and I'll just kind of holistically address what you said. When men don't want to pay to see women get beat up, just generally. You know, there was some men that watched Ronda Rousey knock the girl out in 14 seconds last week. 14 seconds. I get that. But generally, you didn't see women in the Coliseum fighting lions. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see that. And, you know, we saw Ronda Rousey do what she did, but as big as the name of Ali's daughter, Layla Ali, you know what I mean? They wasn't selling out arenas and all of that kind of stuff. And the truth of the matter is, the highlight reel is what's gonna draw the money in. You know what I mean? Yeah, Lisa Leslie can dunk the ball, but she was the only one on her team that could do it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Now, me personally, I like to watch basketball. It doesn't matter who's playing. I'll go to a high school game. I'll go to a college game. I'm not one to watch the tournaments and all that stuff on television. I'd much prefer to go to it. But you're also talking to somebody for the first 5 or 6 years of the WNBA and even the local league that was here in Richmond, where we had the Richmond Rage in the late 90s. I used to go to see Dawn Staley play for the Richmond Rage
UVA
all the time.
Yeah.
I used to go to Madison Square Garden and watch the WNBA with Taretha Weatherspoon and Kim Hampton, you know, and Vicki Johnson and Becky Hammond and the old New York Liberty. And I used to watch Cynthia Cooper down there with the Houston Comets and all of those. I like women's sports. However, I realize that the masses just aren't into it because of the excitement level that you're not going to get. You can't find a woman on the planet that's going to hit a 450-foot home run.
No.
Even if they had a women's baseball league. And what they say, you want to see the home run.
You know what? It's a few of them out here.
You think on a large scale.
Man, please. It's a couple of. Hey, listen, we can go right over here to Blackwell. And I guarantee you that we can find one
maybe
knocking out the park.
Maybe if a brother owed us some money, she could hit him 450 feet. You know, 450 feet. But, you know, I'm not trying to say this and sound disrespectful. I'm just trying to keep it 100, which is what we do here on Ain't No Half Step with Marks J. If I didn't keep it 100, then I would be half stepping. The truth of the matter is, there is no women's football league because you don't want to see a woman tear her ACL. You know, there is no women's baseball league because you want to see the home runs and all of that kind of stuff. But you know what you do have? You got Danica Patrick, who is making her name for herself in NASCAR.
Driving a car.
You got, you know, Michelle Wee and some of the other golfers. You've got the Williams sisters and, you know, women's tennis. I mean, it goes beyond. You know, the Williams sisters is not quite as popular as it was 10 years ago, but back then you had Lindsay Davenport and Martina Hingis and you had Monica Seles, and even before that you had Navratilova and some of those others. And I tell you, I'll be honest with you, if it was me, I would much prefer to watch women's tennis to men's tennis.
Oh, listen, I'm going to just be a Joe Louis here for a minute. Big bro, going to do his thing. It is what it is. I love women's tennis. I love women's volleyball. But, I mean, I like the. Do you know the aggression level that those chicks be coming out? Yo, I be watching the Japanese. They be like, oh, hi-ya. They be chopping the ball. There are spikes and serves, and it's cool. And the outfits are kind of cute too.
Well, I think the author was alluding to that. A big part of the author's problem was that when we do support it, we're supporting it for voyeuristic purposes. But the truth of the matter is, I think we would be irresponsible if we didn't acknowledge that as men, a big part of our relationship with women is we like to look at them. You know what I mean? We like to see them. We like we enjoy that. And so, you know, you can be as pro-woman as a woman or as pro-woman as a man as you want to be. But if you don't acknowledge that, and of course you do it respectfully, but if you don't acknowledge that, then I think that you are leaving out a large part of the discussion.
Well, let's say it like this. It just became really cool for women to be out supporting their football teams and their basketball teams as well. Now, I say that to say because I have quite a few friends. I mean, everybody know that, you know, you and I are rivals when it comes to football.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Of course.
You know.
We football fans first, but when it comes time for the Dallas Cowboys and the New York Giants to play each other,
we just don't like
sit
each
on
other.
opposite ends of the couch and we glare at each other.
And we put a bottle in the middle and be like, look, man, don't touch me while we just
You
pour.
want a sip?
Yeah.
You can take a sip. All right, don't
cool.
talk to me.
Yep. Until it's over with. But, you know, it's really in the past 10 years, has it been okay for women to come out and be like, yo, I'm a football fan. I have a friend of mine who lives in Pittsburgh. She's a diehard Pittsburgh fan. I mean, she go hard. I mean, the whole clique is Pittsburgh. And it's like, yo, they represent just as hard as we do.
Word.
Got a friend of mine down in Charlotte as well. Yo, she's a Panther fan. Oh, my Lord. And, I mean, you know, she got to know some of the players.
Right.
She knows quite a few of them, so we
Right.
get to go to the games and stuff like that. And it's crazy
Right.
how many women are down there. And they're not wearing the little frou-frou pink jerseys no more. Nah, they got real jerseys on with the colors, and they got beers in their hand, and they wilding out. And they can tell you more stats.
Then you probably
Then
know
I
yourself.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree with you. You know, we challenged the author, and I invited the author to join us on the air tonight. And, you know, I'm waiting to see if I'm able to catch up with them before we leave the segment. But we challenged because the author of the discussion mentioned how there's statistical evidence that women's sports are not supported on par with men. I would challenge that person to look at some of the arenas at some of the University of Tennessee female college basketball games, University of Connecticut female college basketball games. Yeah, you'll have some that'll have empty stadiums, but, you know, people go and watch what they want to watch. And if they don't want to watch it, then they don't want to watch it. And let me make this last point, Joe, before you jump in. This person also wanted to connect respect for women to respect for women's sports. I personally don't see a fair correlation.
Yeah, I don't agree with that one, but I'm still, and maybe I missed the point because I from just from the preface of what you told me about what the author stated, I kind of can see a point. Now, whether he was driving a point home to say that we just don't pay attention to it because, you know, it's just women. Now, if that was the way he was coming across, or that author was coming across, then okay, I disagree with that. But to say that we put the same or we hold the same bearings for female or lady sports that we hold for men's sports, no, I don't think so. I don't see many of us. Now, I'm a boxing fan. I love boxing. I don't want to see a woman, like you said, get her nose broke.
No, I'm not seeing. I don't want to see that.
I mean, as a soldier, let me just correlate this back to this. And I think that men are going to be men, and we want to see our women protected. You know, in the past 10 years, they've just started allowing, or past 15 years, they've allowed women to go into a combat situation. And I don't mean to deviate, but I'm just putting it back into perspective.
No, that's
for
fair.
a lot.
That's a fair analogy.
You know, when I went into the service, no, they couldn't go with me where I went, period. Number one, because I could get killed because I'm going to sit there and try to make sure that I protected something. If she gets shot and she's down, what am I going to do? The same thing I'm going to do for any other soldier, but probably at a heightened level because she's a woman. So I get certain correlations that we make. Now, is it fair? No, because they put on that uniform, either uniform.
Just like you do.
Just like I do. You know, whether it's a basketball uniform, which I can't put on no more because the short's too tight.
Okay, John Paxson.
Hey,
John Stockton, rather.
quit playing, you know.
No, I You know, the whole thing about it is, I mean, we live in a world where we want to be respectful. And I think for the most part, people that I know, I can't speak for outside of my camp because I can see certain things are not right. But people inside of my camp, we're respectful. And so I don't know that we can say that we don't support women's sports, and because we don't support women's sports, that's going to lead to a level of disrespect to women overall. Because I'll be honest with you, I know some women that like sports, and some of them don't want to watch.
Yeah. No, they want to see the man. I know a lot of women who watch sports just to see them. They like to see my Dallas Cowboys.
For the same
and they
reason.
little tight pants.
For the same reason we watch.
For the same reason we do.
Voyeuristic. All right, I'm going to put a bow on this. I was hoping that we can get the author to call us in while we were discussing it. It doesn't appear that we'll be able to get that here tonight, and that's fine. If he calls in later on, then we'll talk to him about it. Otherwise, we're going to move on here shortly. But the truth of the matter is, man, I like women's sports because I like sports.
Agreed.
I'm a Giants, Yankees, Knicks, Rangers fan. Those are the sports that I like. I like baseball, and I like football and basketball, and I've learned to like hockey.
That's the Rangers, isn't it?
Rangers and hockey.
Okay.
But if I'm watching tennis, I don't want to watch the men. I don't want to watch Federer. I don't want to watch, any of those guys. I would much prefer to watch some no-name chick from China or Russia.
Whooping the devil out of the ball.
Because it's more pleasing to me. I think that the excitement level and I think the skill level is more so the issue. It's not about being disrespectful to women. I think we need to be clear on that. Ain't no have Steppin, Marcus J, live from the Den. Legacy Internet Radio. You want to call us up and be a part of the discussion with your man, Big Bro Joe, Marcus J. If you think we said something stupid, you want to tell us so. The number to do it is 804-402-2893. That's the number to dial. We appreciate those folks that are listening to us live right now. We're going to be on here for the next probably 2 hours, going about 9:30, 9:45 here tonight. Of course, you're going to be listening to the clips on YouTube. We appreciate you guys who are doing that. Feel free to make any comments you want on YouTube, and we will respond accordingly. Joe, do you have children?
Really? They call you uncle.
Yes, they do. And I asked the question. It wasn't for me. It was more so for the listeners.
Oh, okay.
And, my child calls you uncle. So you're a dad. I'm a dad.
You're a dad.
I'll be honest with you, man. One of my biggest pet peeves in the world is people who do not know how or don't. Whether they know how, they do or they don't. People who don't control their children. Now, a lot of the discussion that we've had on this show, not just tonight, but just in general, which is good because I love social media. I love Facebook and I love Instagram and I love having access to our listeners. And I don't want to call them fans. We're more, we're collaborative. And so I put this out here in social media a couple of days ago. And basically what I had was a quote or a status. And in my status, I basically said that racism doesn't surprise me. Rich people taking advantage of poor people doesn't surprise me. Partisan politics doesn't surprise me. You know what surprises me to this day?
What's up?
Parents who can't control their damn kids surprises me. Now, what led me to say that? I was sitting someplace, and I don't want to say where I was at because they ain't paying me, but I was sitting someplace last week, and I was sitting next to a woman who said to her son, who was sitting on the floor next to me, she was on my right, he was on my left. He's sitting on the floor on my left. So mistake number one, he's sitting on the floor. He's sitting on the floor with her cell phone, and he's playing. And just to look at him, I would guess he's probably 5 or 6. I mean, old enough to understand right from wrong and yes and no, and I could get smacked, I might not get smacked, old enough.
Okay.
And she said, we'll call him Little Jeffrey. Little Jeffrey, give me my phone. Little Jeffrey said no. She said, Little Jeffrey, I want my phone now. Little Jeffrey said, I'm not finished my game. She said, get up and come over here now. He said, when I'm finished my game, I will give you your phone back.
I'm sorry.
Let me finish. I know you want some. I know you do.
Ooh,
Okay,
man.
now it's at this point My blood pressure is going up. I'm getting mad at little Jeffrey, and I'm really ready to grab him by his left ankle and dangle him off of a balcony. That's against the law to even say it.
Yeah,
and I know if the right person's listening to me, they might want to send somebody here to the den. Look, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, don't do it.
I wouldn't do it.
You mean send somebody to the den?
I would think about it, but I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't dangle little Jeffrey off a balcony.
I would.
Maybe over like the balls that you get at like, one of those kiddie places where he wouldn't get hurt, but he would get the point. Maybe we could dangle him over one of them. What do you think?
Yeah, we could. Yeah.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Off the air. Okay. So anyway, she looks at me because now she's embarrassed that little Jeffrey has not responded. She's embarrassed.
Why are you embarrassed?
You can see it in her face, and she reaches over across me in her frustration to try to gesture to him. And so she says, "Excuse me," and I just look at her and I gave her this look of death, like, "You not gonna check little Jeffrey right now?" I give her this look, like you need me to handle that for you.
Want me to get it?
We need to get him. And so she finally gets up and she goes over to him and she stands up to him and she says, "Jeffrey, please give me my phone. It's time for us to leave." And now Jeffrey finally gets up. He hands her the phone and they leave, and that's the end of it. But
no.
Yeah, your turn.
No.
You talk.
Okay.
The floor is yours now.
All right, let's get it. Let's be real clear. If anyone listening to Legacy Internet Radio who knows me knows that the very first time I say something to my child, my oldest is 22 years old. She can say something slick out her mouth right now, and before I realize it, she been caught a backhand. Yeah. Now, that goes from my oldest to the bottom, and it's funny because my oldest would tell the youngest, like, "Yo, do you know he crazy?"
Don't get knocked out. Don't get knocked out. Ain't no ask that with Marcus J. We getting a caller. His calling in. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? What you want to get in on?
Hello, this is the one and only Mr. LP, Steven Sykes over at Live Radio here in Richmond, Virginia. How's everybody doing?
Yeah, we're doing good, man. You got big bro Joe Marcus J here, Mr. LP. What's going on, man? What you want to get in on?
Hey, I wanted to jump in on the conversation. I couldn't get much of the earlier part of it, but I wanted to explain my side of the comment regarding women's sports and where I was heading.
Okay, so you're identifying yourself as the person who I said something stupid.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Most people, I don't think people get where I'm coming from, so let me help it straight it out.
Okay, now we got a little bit of an issue with your cell. If you can get to a better spot, you sound like you're in and out. If you got us on a headphone or something, take us all, put us on the handphone so we can get you.
Stick your big toe out the window.
So we can get you a little bit more clearly. And, I made a point of saying that I was not calling you stupid, but I think what you said in there was stupid. And so because we have you, I will read what you said and give you an opportunity to address it. Is that fair?
Sure.
Okay.
So sure, that's not a problem.
Okay. Here's what I know you don't care, but again, I'm gonna be respectful. Here's what you said. Memo to the unaware. Besides men's college basketball, you also have women college basketball teams to watch as well. Support women's sports to everyone. It helps as well to teach these young boys to respect women and help not grow up to be jerks beating on women. That's what you said. And yes. I took issue with it because, while I understood the spirit of the first part of it, I thought it got pretty stupid at the end of it. That's why I said it was a stupid statement. Again, not to be disrespectful to you, I'm speaking more about what was said, not about or not about who was saying it. And in the interest of full disclosure, Steven and I go in and we attack each other pretty strong. So I think he understands that I mean no disrespect towards him by saying what I think he said was stupid. So we good? Good on that?
I got no problem. I'm
okay.
Good. I'll be upset if nobody out there challenged me. I think I would be crazy.
Okay, my brother. Floor is yours. We're going to come back to the badass kids in a minute. Mr. LP, the floor is yours. What you got?
Okay, the reason why I said that is for two reasons, actually. When overall people don't support women's sports, it's obvious. It's not something that we do. I think that some who are good fathers and things of that nature may have taken issue with it, and it doesn't apply to them. But it does apply to the majority because, let's be fair, salaries, just even on normal jobs or even sports, are nowhere near the same We recently, just last couple of years, when women get the same prize money in Wimbledon and the U.S. Open for tennis. It's just the fact that women are not supported. And I take issue with the fact of if a guy sits here and tells a daughter, yes, we have children, you can do it all, you can be anything you want, but then later on still don't support women's sports overall, I feel it's sort of a dismay. And I see a lot of fathers out there in the world do that. Or those who don't even have the upper dollars, they still go out there and don't support women's sports overall.
Hey, Steven.
The second part of that.
Excuse me for 1 second, Steven. Hey, my bad. Can you
Sure.
go back and repeat that last statement you said? Because I don't know. We must have missed you, but you said something about fathers, and I didn't quite catch that.
Sure. I said there are a lot of fathers out there who will sit there and support their daughters, will wear their daughters' jerseys and go to games and everything else, but then would not support women's sports overall beyond that. And I feel that it's sort of disingenuous that we don't do that, and also enough to encourage young boys growing up and to support other guys to get out there and support women's sports, because in that way they can give out more support, and we can understand the plight of what women go through.
Let me put you on. I'm gonna put you on the spot, Steven. Who won the WNBA title last year?
I'm sorry, say that.
I'm going to put you. I'm going to put you on the spot. Who won the WNBA title last year?
Oh shoot! God, was it?
Now I'll give you a hint. I told you in the blog where we had, which I know.
I mean, the thing is the sad thing.
That's fine.
I keep wanting to say UConn, but it wasn't.
The fact that you said
Mercury. I think it was Mercury. I remember the championship.
it was the Phoenix. It was the Phoenix. It was the Phoenix Mercury. But
Mercury.
the point I'm making is
Mercury.
the point I'm making is you him and Han just to give me that. And so my question is, do you support women's sports? Because in that same blog, you had Dirk Diggler, who hosts the show called All Throttle Radio, which is right here on Legacy Internet Radio every Thursday at 7. And our brother K-Dub, who co-hosts Ain't No Half Step on Marcus J with us here on this show from time to time, both asked you to reference the stats or the statistics that you were speaking of that says why or what the deal is with the support of women's sports. And it was at that point where you decided that you didn't want to have the discussion anymore. You bowed out. You said that you were done with the discussion. And so how you going to be done with the discussion and you started, and when someone challenges you, you bow out? What's up with that?
I didn't bow out. I basically, okay, let me put it this way. In one sense, yes, but I have a valid reason. To be honest, I thought it was getting stuck on stupid. And the reason why I say that is that do you really need stats to prove that women's sports are not supported? I mean, like, people point to, for example, in college basketball, where it initially started. People think of the conversation. People think of UConn, Tennessee, and they see the big teams, but they don't think about the other teams. In addition, I could speak from a point of fact of being, and mind you, I worked with a major top 5 team in UVA women's basketball. Routinely, outside of the big games and things like that, our gym was not always sold out until, like, the championship games and stuff. We've gone to Dinos, Maryland, or somewhere in UNC or Duke. Our games were not so sold out. Half the time it was half empty. And I could say that point of knowing other stars from past and current who is not out there supported. How many men out there will actually go out there and wear not just women's basketball or any team jersey of a woman, besides the fact that their daughters played it?
Well, I'm gonna address what you're saying point by point. The first point is I have absolutely no problem with any man who rocks his daughter's jersey and then doesn't care about women's sports after that. No problem with it, not even a little bit. Second part that I'll say is if you're speaking to me personally, which I know you're not, but I'm going to say I used to rock a Teresa Weatherspoon jersey. She played for the New York Liberty of the WNBA in the late 90s and early 2000s. She wore a number 11 jersey. I would rock it publicly along with my WNBA hat, and I got clowned for it. But I didn't care because I like women's sports, and I like what I like. I don't really care what a person thinks about what I'm wearing. Be honest with you, if I want to wear, a pink shirt and some yellow pants, I'm gonna rock that if that's what I want to wear, even though that's not what I would do. But the point I'm making is, how are we and when I say we, I guess I should say you, how are you going to tell people what they are supposed to like? If they don't like it, Stephen, they don't like it. Would you expect? Would you? It is. Would you expect? Well, let me finish my question. Let me finish my question. Do you expect to see women's sports on par with men's sports? Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, or damn close. Yeah.
It's never going to happen. And it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with people, because it's not going to happen. Joe made the point earlier on that I said Lisa Leslie, but he made the point that LeBron James is going to dunk, and it's exciting to see it. And I piggyback by saying Lisa Leslie was the only one on her team that could do it. People like to see excitement in the game. You're not going to see a women's baseball league because women can't hit a 400-foot home run consistently. Men don't want to watch women beat up each other. It's nothing wrong with that. You're never going to see women's sports on par with men's sports. And the biggest piece that I had a problem with in your statement, the reason why I said it was stupid, is because you cannot correlate respect for women around supportive women's sports. You mean to tell me that you honestly going to sit here and tell me that you think that a man who does not tell his son to watch women's sports might raise a boy that might grow up to be a jerk that would slap around a woman? Because that's what you said.
Okay, then let me tell you where I'm going with that. Okay, now obviously, if there's a good man who tells women to still support, still respect women, you may not like it. There's a difference between liking and there's a difference between respecting. And then at the same time, you look at it from a standpoint, if you sit there and act like a jerk and be like, and your son's around and there's a women's game and there may be a very bad men's game, but you don't watch it, but then there's a very good women's game and you don't watch it, you set an example towards that boy in not supporting women and things of that nature. And
Steven,
then
I gotta get in.
That boy, you have to understand what you're feeding yourself mentally and spiritually.
Steve, when I had this conversation, I'm going to pass it on to Joe. I'm going to pass it on to Joe and have him comment. But I had the discussion with K-Dub earlier. He wanted me to make the point, if I did get an opportunity to debate with you, is you cannot make the correlation between respect of women and liking women's sports and supporting women's sports. It's just not a fair analogy, one. Two, you have still not provided the stats that you said that you were going to provide. And yeah, we need the stats. You think that we don't need the stats? Excuse me. You said you don't need the stats. You said that you don't need it. It's not. You know why it's not, Stephen? You know why it's not? Because you said that if you don't support women's sports, that you may end up being a jerk who beats women. And so I need to see whatever stats that you have. Let me finish. I'm not going to talk over you. I'm going to cut your mic off. I'm not going to talk over you. We're not going to do that. Let me finish. If you can provide me some sort of documentation that shows that there is a direct correlation between men supporting women's sports and men beating their women, then I'll respect what you're saying. But until then, I think it's a crazy ass statement. I think you're going way too far in trying to be supportive of women. And the last thing that I'll say before I give the floor to Joe, because Joe needs to get in here. K-Dub's statement was, while you're saying these things and we respect your right to say them, until you give us some sort of statistic like you said you can provide, all it is your opinion. And that's it. Joe.
Hey, Stephen, I listened to a couple of things, and I don't agree with everything you said. I think that you have some validity on some of it. As a father who has two children, who has two daughters who were sports persons, that's what they did. I went to the games. I went to the meets, and I was the person yelling louder, I think, than anybody else. If it was my son out there doing the same thing, guess what? I would still be yelling. Now, do I sit around and just honestly watch women's sports? Not all the time. But guess what? If my team isn't playing football, guess what? Sometimes I don't want to sit there and watch that either. Does it mean that I don't like football or I'm going to go around and just go start punching dudes in the face? No. It just means that I have it.
I didn't. But the thing is, that doesn't apply. See, the thing is, that statement that I made does not necessarily apply to you. I spoke and I clearly stated in general and things of that nature.
Let me recap what you stated, and this is what you stated, and I just heard, because I wasn't privy to you and Marcus J's conversation. I wasn't privy to that. But when you made the statement that if a father goes out and supports his daughter, but then doesn't support watching or doesn't go out and watch a women's sport, then that's disingenuous. That's what you said to me. And as a father, I take offense to that, because just because I support my children because they are my children and I like what they're doing doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to get on everybody else's bandwagon and boat and go watch WNBA. Now, do I watch WNBA? Okay. Yes. So I think that you know, the statistics, I honestly, I would love to see the statistics that you're referring to, because we can all roll this back into one thing. If you have a parent who allows his son or daughter to beat up on somebody just because of sports, then you need to whoop their ass and keep it moving, period. I don't think that has anything to do. My son is 6 years old, and guess what? He's yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir, and he's very respectful to everyone. You know why? Because that's the way I raised him, and that's a period, point blank. It's
got nothing to do with what sports he watches and who's playing it and what the gender is of the person on the sport.
A couple of things I think some of y'all may have mistaken. When I said statistics, well, one of the other ladies who was complaining that when I was referring to the statistics, I was referring to the numbers of how the games are not watched and supported overall in terms of money and viewership in comparison to men. One of them was a couple of people were debating and also emailed me saying that no, women is just as support and get as much money as men. And I was like, that's bogus. And if you actually believe that, you're crazy.
Now that I agree with you with, and we made that point earlier in the conversation that it's about the what?
It's about the excitement. It's about what people want to see, okay, Steven. You can't sit here and make it seem like.
Okay, for YouTube maybe is one thing, okay, but like and let's be fair, YouTube watch it stuff here and there. YouTube do give it a chance, and to a certain degree it is, and to a certain degree it isn't. Fair enough. But my point is you know for a fact that a lot of people would not even bother to give it a chance just because it's women. There's a lot of people that wouldn't even bother. My correlation into all of that is at the same time, whether it's just women, let's add other things to it, whether it's women's sports, women's jobs, whatever.
No, you didn't.
No.
You said no. Yeah, let's stick with sports, because if you want to say women's jobs, guess what? I'm a professional. Hold on for a second, Steven. I'm a professional. No, because I can't sit there and allow you to do that. I'm a professional that works in an industry where my boss and my boss's boss and my boss's boss are all women. And guess what? That has nothing. That has the fact that they can do the job, and it was a man that wasn't appropriate for that position.
Let me finish the statement. What I'm saying is that it is how you, as a man, okay, how you treat women and the examples that you set in treating women. Okay, if we want to just keep it to a sport, so we can. In terms of how you treat women, support sports overall, it directly correlates in terms of how your son will, if you have a young boy, will set an example.
Bullshit.
Okay.
I call bullshit.
How my child
call bullshit. Do you have any sons? Let's do this. Do you have any sons, Steven?
If you grow up
Steven,
treating women's sports,
do you have any sons?
Excuse me.
Do you have a son?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I do not.
Then don't speak on what you have not of. Please, because my son, like I said, my son. Okay. No. Listen to me. You are using something that you can't speak on. If you haven't had it, you can't speak on it. I can tell you from a fact. My son.
No offense.
No, I'm not taking offense. I'm telling you a fact. You cannot speak on something that you have had enough dealings with. Trust me. My son has.
I may not have any child a day-to-day basis as of my own, but I do. That does not mean A, I do not know how to treat a child. B, that does not know how I do not know how to raise a child.
It's not. Well, how can you can't know how to raise anything unless you've done it. You can get you a plant, and all you think you got to do is feed it and give it water. No, you can. No, that's not a good analogy. Go ahead, pass that one though, because like I said, my son doesn't sit there and watch sports, and he doesn't like football. But guess what?
It doesn't apply to you because you.
But you're making a blanket statement.
But you know, a lot of men don't.
You making a blanket statement, Steven. You making a blanket. Stop. You're making a blanket statement, and then when someone challenges you, you say it doesn't apply to you.
No, because it doesn't apply.
Okay, it doesn't apply. It doesn't apply to us because it's not a real fair statement to make. At the end of the day, Steven, it's not a fair statement to make when you're talking about people have the right to like what they want to like. If they want to if they want to watch basketball where there's a lot of good passing and stealing of the ball and potentially some good shooting, great. If they want to see some dunks and excitement, great. Wherever they get it is where they're going to turn to. And if they're not going to see the dunks in the women's game, then they're probably not going to watch it. And there's nothing wrong with that. The correlation that you're making to respect for women is where you're losing us. That's where you're losing us. It's okay to watch women's sports if you choose to. If you choose not to, that's fine too. You know, when you say if you don't support it, then you could potentially, and you say, okay, not us because we just challenged you. But that blanket statement that you made for the people who are not here to challenge you are the people who I'm defending because it's not a fair statement to make.
No, it's not because of you challenging me.
It is because I'm challenging you.
No, my point, no. I say it doesn't apply to you because I know that I believe that you guys are good fathers. But you know good and well that there are not many good fathers out there or men standing up, period.
Oh,
and there's
no, there you go again. You're making another blanket statement.
That's a fact.
Now where you saying? Wait a minute, hold up.
It's a lot of good, and it's a lot of women who are not good mothers, Stephen. Knock it off with this women's lib stuff, man. What are you a broad barn too? I mean, come on, man. 1946. 1946 is when the NBA was founded. 1946. 1997 is when the WNBA was founded. So you think there might just be, maybe possibly a whole, 5-6 generations of fanship that may be part of the reason why more people want to watch men's basketball than women. That might be part of it, maybe.
No, it's a lot of it is sexism. It's sexism. Men in general are sexist. Why do you think there's so much abuse by men?
Okay.
Seriously.
I'm gonna let you go on that note, Steven. Steven, make your final point. We're moving on. Make your final point. We're moving on. And make it brief.
My point is that there's so many missing fathers out there. There's so many fathers not teaching their daughters what is a supportive man and of everything else. And that's why you see all these kids acting wild.
I call bullshit again. Guess what? Let me do this, Steven. I'm gonna say this, and I got to put it in here, but. You want to make that statement about the fact that there's so many missing fathers. Guess what? There are a lot of fathers available that their mothers are acting like a bunch of asses and don't want to allow their kids, their fathers to see their kids. What you're making is a blanket statement dealing with what we see on television and commercialism. Guess what? There are a lot of men. I ain't say male because just because you have a penis doesn't mean you're a man. It's a lot of men out here who are being fathers that are not allowed to do something because the system who was not built for us is allowing things to go on. So don't make that statement like that because you know what? I catch real offense because I've been in that situation where I've had some things that have gone on and people are going to tell me, well, you're a deadbeat dad. You kiss my ass. I ain't no damn deadbeat dad. What it is guess what? I've been here, but you don't know the whole story. So don't make that statement either. We'll have to talk. Let's talk offline.
We'll have to. I think that this was a good discussion to have, Stephen. I mean, obviously, Joe and I disagree with you. Dirk and Kata also disagree with you, and that's fine. Just because people disagree with you doesn't mean that you're wrong. It just means that people disagree with you. So I will give you the benefit. Let me finish. I will give you the benefit of the doubt and say that your point is your point. Your point is not fact-based. Your point is your opinion, and that's fine if it's your opinion. If that's how you feel, that's how you feel, no matter how wrong somebody else thinks you are. I commend you and I respect you that you're standing firm and you're holding your position. I'm going to give you 30 seconds to finish your final point before we let you go and we move on. 30 seconds. Go.
I can speak from experience from a lot of a male, just a guy who's a fan of women's sports, but as a guy who's worked in women's sports for many years and speak of that situation. For that part, I can speak for as a fact. The issue is not about challenging of what's going on. My issue is that, yes, there are fathers out there who support and support from the court systems because the women act stupid. That I agree with Big Bro Joe on that one. That's a fact. But at the same time, there's really many more deadbeat fathers out there and things of that nature. And that is a correlation in terms of how you treat women and you respect women. That goes along to the image of kids. How many kids out there, or just people say they've seen it from home, that my mom or dad hit each other or whatever. That happens all the time. And I ask plenty of social workers all the time. And it's a mindset that we have to make change. Just like you said, that it's a mindset of, for some, they just don't like women's sports. That's one thing. But it's the level of respecting women's sports. And there's a lot of people that just don't. We have people that's trying to repeal Channel 9 because they just don't believe women's sports should be a part of. Women don't get the support the money. It's just so many facts.
All right. Well, I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and I think we understand where you're coming from. We just happen to disagree. And one thing that we do on Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, as well as Legacy Internet Radio, is we agree to disagree without being disagreeable. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
Give me your information. Who the hell are you? Tell Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J listeners why you and I feel so comfortable giving each other some grief. You my brother. Tell everybody who you are, brother.
I'm the one and only Mr. LP, Steven Sykes. I'm a host of Enliven Radio and also Amplified Gospel. Enliven Radio Tuesday nights from 7 to 9, and Amplified Gospel 24 hours all day Sunday. Also Sykes Talent Group, and work with a lot of other community organizations, Box Cutter and things of that nature. Mark is my bro. I live and die for whatever team Legacy Internet Radio. We go in. It's not about whether we disagree. It's about the fact that we can agree and disagree and be respectful. And the thing I love about it is whether I disagree with him or not, I still support it. That's anybody that will not allow him to have this, and the same thing, he goes with me. So I'll stand firm for anybody for that. I'll die on the blood.
Well, we love you too, man. We appreciate the hyperbolic speech you just gave us there, and Stephen, we know that you oftentimes speak in hyperbole, and that's cool because that's our relationship, brother. We appreciate you, man. Thank you for calling, and keep putting out the controversy so that I have a good reason to chop it up with you, man. We love you. We talk to you.
I appreciate it because you keep in mind, at least you know wherever I come from. Most men and women are not willing to step up and to speak their mind. A lot of people just don't have the courage.
Man. Hey, look, that's very true. If you want to speak your mind, the one thing that I'll say about you, Stephen, is that you hold firm to your opinions, whether it's a popular opinion or not,
wrong,
or popular or not. He says or wrong. Popular or not, you hold firm. We respect it. We're gonna let you go, man. Be cool, man.
And shout out to good fathers like you too. Appreciate it.
We appreciate you as well, man. Talk to you soon. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Mr. LP, Steven Sykes, host of Enliven Radio on Tuesdays and Amplified Gospel all day on Sunday. Joe, real quick, we're going to finish up what we were talking about the kids, that you need to check your kids, and then we're going to move into a break. We were talking about the little fella, little Jeffrey, at the place that I didn't want to mention.
Right.
And his mother was trying to get his attention. He was blowing her off. Real quick, since Mr. LP has given us his high praise and endorsement as being good fathers, we are both going to say what we would have done to little Jeffrey before we go into a break.
All right. You mind if I go first?
I want you to go first.
Oh, okay. Well, let's be clear. First of all, little Jeffrey, I was taught at a very early age, and Big Papa Bro Joe.
Yeah, I know who that is.
Yeah.
I spent a good portion of yesterday with him.
Yeah. It's And LP Steven Sykes made the point to say that there are not a lot of good parents or not a lot of good fathers out there. And I will have to sit there and say this. You know what? My father always taught me that if you embarrass me, if you embarrass your mother, you embarrass me. And I was so fearful of the fact that I would do something wrong, that I would get my behind tore up. See, that's the issue we have nowadays. Kids will call the police and they get the cops involved, and you got special services, CPS and RPS and Guess what? I'm tell you now, if little Jeffrey would have did that in my presence, I would have beat the brakes off of Lil Jeffrey, and every ass who was around me would have got their brakes beat off them if they would have tried to intervene. Because my logic is, I will whoop their behinds before I allow the system to whoop their behinds. But see, that's what they want to do. They want to make sure that our children are locked down, locked up. And I don't know what nationality Lil Jeffrey is. It don't really make no whole lot of difference.
It doesn't matter, and I left that out for a reason.
Okay, great. But my point is, a beatdown is a beatdown. Now, I'm not sitting there saying, and anybody who's listening, please do not sit there and say I'm talking about choking your kids out, which I have done because the situation warranted. But anyway, we will not
Statute of limitations expired.
It's over. Yeah, it's over now. We're not going to have children being disrespectful. Number one, I have a situation where I know my son, he said yeah to my mother, and before he got the H out on the yeah, I was already in his behind. I was so close to him, I almost kicked him in the ass so hard he could smell kiwi on his breath. And anybody who is old enough to understand what kiwi is a shoe polish. So when I put my foot in his behind, but that's what I can do because that's my child. And I demand respect, and I demand that you respect your mother because I can't disrespect her. So there's nobody else gonna sit around there and do it, especially not no little 6-year-old snot-nosed kid or ever how old little Jeffrey was. First of all, little Jeffrey, you need an abacus. Damn, a cell phone. Can you count to 3? Spell it.
Yeah, man. I gotta agree with you on this one, Joe. I mean, you and I were raised in two different at two different times in two different places. But we were raised the same. And the fact of the matter is, Pops J and Pops Lou, they did pretty damn good with us, if I do say so myself.
And weapons didn't hurt us.
No, I mean, it made us strong men. But here's the deal with that, man. I'm gonna cut it and cut to the chase. The truth of the matter is, you just don't disrespect your mother. You just don't do that. You don't disrespect your father.
No.
You don't disrespect your elder, no matter who it is that's there. And I think that we lose a little bit in the generations when we allow little Jeffrey to get away with that. Because you got kids, like you said earlier, that want to call the cops on your parent. Because we're not talking about Adrian Peterson style beatdowns. We're not talking about that. But, if a kid is disrespectful, you need to check that kid. And hopefully, And
that wasn't fair either.
What do you mean?
That Adrian Peterson style beating. I got one of them.
I'm not going to endorse that. I'm just not.
I'm not
going to endorse that. But the thing is, I think every single child on a planet needs to have a healthy fear of his parents.
Amen.
Particularly his or her father.
Church.
You need to be afraid. You need to know that if you cut out a line, you will get knocked cold out.
I need you to be sweating like I did when I was a kid, scared for my mom and dad to come home.
There was a time for me where I was so scared of my father when it was time to go to school that I went to bed at 7 o'clock at night while they was at school because I thought the teacher was going to snitch on me about something.
Dude.
That's how I got down. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. Live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We got a call on the live line. Caller, what's your name? What you want to get in on?
Hi, this is Chantel.
Chantel.
Hey.
What's up, girl?
Hey.
What's happening? What you want to get in on? You hear us in here wilding. What you want to get in on?
Let me tell you, my kids, some people tell me that I am a little soft on them, but they do not disrespect me. I don't play that game.
So you knock a kid cold out too?
They get a little old-fashioned beating because I will not let the streets raise my kids. I raise them myself.
And that's so commendable and respectful. But you know what? I like the word you're using, but let's clean that one up. Let's preface this. People think of a beating. Now, if you go back to our age, and we're not going to call out ages, but if you go back to our generation, a beating just meant you was getting your behind whooped.
Yes. That's
what a beating was. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chantel. A beating was a whooping.
Mm-hmm.
Now, today's society, kids want to sit there and be semantical because they smarter than us. Well, so they think.
Yeah, they think they are.
They think they smarter than us.
I remember when I was younger talking back to my parents.
You remember that?
Didn't happen.
Wait a minute. You remember that?
The matter is, heck yeah.
I don't remember that.
And then, asking why.
Oh, yeah.
My father's a preacher. You just don't do that.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I got you.
But you know what, kids today, and I've seen it. Listen, I'm gonna just give an example, and y'all tell me if I'm wrong. It was my oldest child, and I stated to you all that she is now 22 years old, my oldest daughter, and she was maybe 2 years old, and we went to the local mall here. Now, I happened to work in the mall, and I had this little rookie cop come up to me because my child fell out in the middle of the mall. She fell out. She was copying somebody else who fell out because I told her she couldn't have some candy or something like that, and she fell out in the middle of the mall. You know what I did right there?
You knocked her cold out.
I whooped her from the floor back to her feet. When she fell out on the floor, and I swear, hey, I'm gonna put this
That's
out
the
there.
one thing you can't do, Chantel. You can't fall out with me in public.
Yeah, you
No,
disrespect. What?
See, the thing about it is my son will be 13 in April, and he does have some Caucasian friends that do talk back to their parents.
You mean white folk?
And the one thing that I do not, I can't deal with that, and I would chop him in his throat. And he's sitting right here, right now, and he will tell you, I don't play that game.
Okay, Dragonfly, mommy.
Hey, but she will though. I done seen it. Done seen it.
Seen it with a T at the end.
But it was funny, and the reason I made that statement was when I whooped my child from the floor back to her feet, and she had no problem with it no more. And I said, you bet not cry. And you bet, and wait a minute, hold up. You bet not cry.
Bet not.
That's what she did.
Yeah.
And then I had a cop come up to me and said, excuse me, sir, you can't do that here. I said, you put your hands on me and you gonna dance next, partner. That's what's gonna happen.
Okay, tough guy.
No, it wasn't no tough guy.
I feel like these kids today in school don't have the authority or the type of backing that I give my kids, because I have went to the school and pulled my son out of school. He was acting up. I could not whoop him on campus, but I went around the corner, handled the business, and took him back to school.
I ain't mad at you, Chantel. We getting ready to move on to a break. Get in any shout outs you want to get into. What you want to get into before we let you go?
Just hi, everyone. Have a good night.
We love it that you've been calling us, and we know that you representing the Queen City down there in
baby.
Charlotte, North Carolina, and we appreciate it. Thank you so much for supporting Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J and Legacy Internet Radio. Keep on listening. If you hear something else, and I know it's on the agenda, so you probably will, you got the open invitation to call us back later on in the night if you hear something else said that Joe says or yours truly says that you think is stupid and you want to call us up and tell us. All right?
Get the crew involved too. You know who I'm talking about. Get the crew.
That's right.
Oh, Lord.
You get the crew, right?
I'll see.
You got it. Our sister
Okay.
Chantel. Thank you, sis.
Hey.
Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J, live from the Den of Legacy Internet Radio. We're going to take our first break of the night. And when we come back, we're going to pay some bills. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the brother in Detroit that had a windfall, but somebody ain't too happy about it and they want their cut. Dolce and Gabbana, they said some craziness. You got to give it up, people. Ain't No Half Steppin' with Marcus J. Be back in a few.